What's up, guys? My name's Doofus Mcdooface, and in this video, I'll be talking about Tier 3 openers and Legion TD2. That's right, we're continuing the series, and now here's the problem, but I have a solution. With Tier 1s and Tier 2s, we had the option of upgrading all these things, making it a little more clear about their opener status. However, with the exception of Cash Out, Tier 3s can't be opened as the upgraded version. So for this tier list, I will be breaking down some as just starting with a Tier 3, ones that you can actually hold or pro leak on Wave 1, and others where you have to build two or having to build one of the Tier 3s and then building a counterpart unit. So just want to clarify that. But without further ado, let's get into my opinions and let me know if you think they're good or if they are bad. So, Pirate Skeleton, of course, this is one of those where you're going to have to start with two Pirate Skeletons. Allows you to get a Tier 3 pretty easily, a Tier 6 pretty easily on Wave 3. Or you can just do a Scallywag. You could force it out on Wave 2. My personal thinking, just because of the gold lost, it can't be the best. It can't be S tier. It can be used for Fiesta. You know me, I'm always going to refer to Fiesta. But it's still pretty solid. It gives you that flexibility. I would say it's like an A-, maybe a B+ opener, starting both. Yes, you have the possibility of leaking on one, but do you really care that much? Not really. Wave 2, you don't really leak. And then it's the flexibility that you're paying for to get out a Tier 6 egg sack on 2, forcing out the Scallywag on 2, forcing out a Scallywag on 3, right? It gives you those options. So I'm going to put it pretty high. Sea Serpent. Once again, I think you just start two of them. For a period of time, I really thought that the Serpent cheese was it. I thought it was the juice. But recently, it hasn't gone as well for me. But I really don't think that is going to deter me from also putting it in the A tier. You literally, realistically, only leak Wave 5. Now you are a little more susceptible to a leak on Wave 5 since they fixed the Scorpion King. If you only go for I'm just hyper-focusing on if you went for a Sea Serpent only build. But I'm just referring to Sea Serpent's openers with this tier list. But if you were to focus just on only Sea Serpents, really Wave 5 is the only wave you're weak. So two Sea Serpents can work pretty well. Downsides, nothing early. And I'm really sort of focusing on the early game here, as it is an opener, So I would say Serpents, pretty solid. Banker. You have two options, right? Or I guess three options. You could start a Dwarf Banker by itself. You could start two Dwarf Bankers. You could start Dwarf Banker and a other unit. And then you can just play with those. You could force out the Bigwig, get the upgrade quick. So you do have options. Me personally, even when Dwarf Banker leaked on Wave 1 to a snail, or not to a snail, I was not a fan of it as Fiesta, as I feel like they kind of ruined how the gold works, since the gold is based on scaling now. What was that, like 4 or 5 months ago? They changed it to where Wave 1, you get a certain amount of gold. Wave 4, you get a certain amount of gold. Wave 8, you get a certain amount of gold. Where before, if you started with the banker, by Wave 6 or 5 or whatever, you could already have hit the maximum amount of gold, and then you were banking, baby. So with that being said, I don't think that bankers are that strong right now, and it's not the style that I like to play. So I'm going to put the bankers in C. It's not a huge fan. Tempest. Naturally, I think you start just two Tempests, sort of the exact same style that you would do the Sea Serpent, right? It's good for flying force, but as an opener, I've never been a huge fan. So this is one of those where I sort of have to look at, is this my opinion, right? Is this my tier list? or am I looking at this from like a more unbiased point of view? Because the unbiased point of view, I'd say 2 Tempest is B. My biased point of view would be Tempest opener is C, because I just always leak with them, and I can't really tank well with them at all. So I'm gonna keep it in C, just because when the range of a ranged attacking unit, right? Not a melee, a non-melee unit, a ranged damage, it just sort of messes with it if the range is like 1 or 2 or 3. You see this with protons, can see it with Pilgrim, can see it with Tempest, or if the range is like 3.5 or less, 350 range or less, it's not really 350 or less, you know? Or with Adam, it's not really 300. Like, it seems like it's a bit closer. So for that reasoning, I'm going to keep Tempest in C. The 2 Tempests in C, not a huge fan. And it's not like, oh, you can go 2 Tempests or 1 Tempest and a cheap unit and then upgrade to a Leviathan. Because what is a Leviathan going to do for you with nothing else on it? Good unit late game, bad opener, in my opinion. Or not solid opener. Trent. I think we got to go with the S tier on Trent. I mean, the options are a lot, right? Trent has a lot of options. Insta 5 workers with no chance of leaking. I mean, I think it's actually, let me just think this through real quick. With the exception of the stimmed banker, I think Trent is the only 5 worker opener where you can push 3 workers, pushing to 5, right? On wave 1 and not leak to anything. Is that correct? Oathbreaker can leak. Gate Guard can leak, Windhawk can leak, Willow shroom can leak. If I'm not mistaken, that might be the only opener in the entire game that you could start 5 workers before the wave even starts and not be leakable. So, for that reason, I mean, it's automatically S tier. In addition, it's great for a Fiesta, pushing to 6 workers, and then maybe not even leaking on 2. You have the option to go Boom Tree on wave 2 or wave 3. You have the option to start working on some cheese. Like, you pair these 2 together, you pair these 3 together. I'm talking about Tree of Life Scallywag. I'm talking about Tree of Life Canopy. There are plenty of options with Trent, and I don't think there's really any discussion. It's S tier. Willow shroom opener. Once again, I think this is one of those like Tempest where I'm going to be a little biased and not put it as high as it probably should. Because if I get snailed, I'm irritated. I know I don't seem tiltable, but I am. So when I get snailed with Willow shroom, I'm a little irked. But I feel like it's better than that of like a Tempest or a Banker. And this is another 5 worker start. It's just, it's susceptible to leaking to the snail. And then it's okay-ish on 2, great on 3, horrific on 4. So when I think about it like that, it's a good opener, but that snail for me knocks it down. It's okay. Like Willow shroom, I think is B for balanced. You know, I feel like it's not broken. It's not the best, but it's a solid opener. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think Willow shroom opener is fine. And then as always, you can just force out the canopy on 2, you know, and then just push to 6, 7 workers, and then you sort of deal with it on 5, right? Deal with a 5 send. Similar, right? All of these tier 3s, for the most part, if you open them and you're going 5 workers, you are susceptible to snails. The difference with Windhawk, and why I think it's A as opposed to Willow shroom or as opposed to Banker, we'll get to Gate Guard Harbinger in a moment, is Windhawk fakes people out so much. Like Windhawk is probably the most leaked unit on wave 1 when people are not Fiesta that people are happy about, right? Because if you see a Windhawk opener, you think, they could be Fiesta, or maybe they're not, you know? Like, if somebody starts a Willowstrom, I don't automatically think, oh, they're Fiesta, you know? Or could be Fiesta. If somebody starts a Gate Guard, I don't automatically think, oh, they could be Fiesta. Or even 2 Skeletons. But when they start Windhawk, it's sort of, why did you purposely leak on wave 1? So I feel like the Jedi mind tricks, the mind games that Windhawk gives, does deserve to be in A tier. Not quite S tier, but I think A tier is pretty solid. Violet, good early upgrade. Kicks ass on wave 4, wave 5, wave 6. And then it's kind of bad on 7. But I mean, first 6 waves, relatively good unit. Yeah, I feel pretty good with Windhawk in A. And this is why I had to change up my tier list for the purpose of Scrappy. I originally only was thinking of tier 3s as in I'm going to place like a normal unit. Oh, I'm going to place Trent. Oh, I'm going to place a banker, a gate guard. And then I looked at Scrappy win rate and realized it has one of the highest win rates in the entire game as an opener. People know how to use it. But it leaks 58% to no send on 1, which would not be a good Fiesta. So the way people are using this is they add Scrappy and then another unit. Sort of as I described with like 2 Tempests or 2 Serpents or 2 Pirate Skeletons. And then when we get to those, a lot of those also need a counterpart. So when I'm talking about Scrappy here, I'm thinking of a counterpart. But I can't see myself starting it with the exception of being Fiesta. I will try to play this as Fiesta. So as a tentative ranking, because I don't have the experience, but I do have the knowledge or the evidence that other people are winning with it, I'm going to put Scrappy Opener in B. And also, it's like the best unit ever in the late game with Heroic Scrappy in the windup. So it's really good. But I feel like B is fine. You're pretty solid on waves 1 and 2. You're okay on 3. And you're pathetic on wave 4. But by wave 4, if you only have the 1 Scrappy, you only invested 90 gold into it. So I think you should be okay. Probably a fairly decent opener. And per the win rate, clearly it is. Gate Guard. I could appease the people and put it in S, but I can't do that because I never get out that extra spawn. I never, ever get out the extra spawn in the early game unless I have steeds. If I don't have steeds with Gate Guard, I can't get that extra spawn out. You give me Sacred Steed with Gate Guard, I'll put it in S tier. But for me, Gate Guard is a good opener. As we've talked about, only Pro Leaks to Snail is a great 5-worker opener. One of the best. It's the second best, I would say, next to Trent. When you think about starting as 5 workers and being almost impervious to leaking. Great on wave 1. However, on wave 2, you do show some weakness. So if you're going to try to go 6 workers as Gate Guard on 2, then you naturally aren't going to get that second spawn out, meaning you leak on wave 2. When you have enough value for the Gate Guards, they cook. Or when you have a great counterpart like Sacred Steed, then it really cooks. So I feel like for that reason, I have to pull it down just a notch. I know a lot of people are going to be like, Doofus, this should have been S tier. And let me know. Let me know if you really think it should have been S tier. Or any of these that you have an opinion on. Please like, comment, let me know. But I just feel like the fact that you can win and lose games just on, oh, the mana's about to hit, oh, I'm off by 1 mana. I didn't get the dog out, and now I leak, Whereas, oh, I get the dog out. Yeah, I hold. It's like, come on, man. But it's still really solid. All right, now all of these last 4 are a little harder for me to explain because these are not really, these are like the Scrappy, where I said like Scrappy with a tier 1 or a tier 2 or even a tier 3. I'm never starting 2 steeds. I'm not starting a Sea Dragon only. I'm not starting 2 Sea Dragons. I'm not starting a Warg or 2 Wargs. I'm not starting Infiltrator or 2 Infiltrators. That would be just weird and funky. But if you mix all of these together, or even mixing some of those together, then it can work really well, right? Sea Dragon and Steed. Okay, that can be a good one. You're able to push to 5 workers pretty easily. You're already strong on 3, and then let's say you also have a warg for 4 or infiltrator for 4. Solid opener. So to rank these is going to be hard for me, but I'm still going to do it because you would have said, where was Steed? Where was warg? Where was Sacred Steed as an opener? As long as you have a mana unit, I mean, actually, think about this, an Adam. Adam and Sacred Steed could be an interesting opener. I would say with mana units, I would say it's good. You know, I think it's middle mark. With the right mana unit, I think it could do decent. You know, you pair it with a Sea Dragon, it's good. You pair it with an Adam, it's good. What other? I think that's about it for like a wave 1 thing you start with, because you don't want to start Pilgrim and Steed on wave 1, right? If we're talking purely openers. Yeah, you wouldn't want to do like a Fire Archer and a Sacred Steed. Once again, you're not getting the maximum value out. But I think it's okay with the right units. Sea Dragon, I'm going to say sort of the same thing. Like Sea Dragon, I'd probably have a little higher, like in the B+ area. I have done Sea Dragon opens. Sea Dragon and, like I said, Steed, Warg, Infiltrator, things like this. Pretty solid, or you could do with like a Pirate Skeleton. The thing is, I think if you do start Sea Dragon, the positioning matters a lot more, which for me is not a problem. But for you guys to maximize your value as an opener, that Sea Dragon really does need to tank, right? If you're placing a 95 gold unit and it's natural, so the first 2 waves, and then even 3 and 4 and 5, I really do want it to tank a little bit. So the positioning does matter. But I can definitely see Sea Dragon pairing well with things as an opener. Wave 1. Warg. I'm going to put Warg in C. Now, it does pair decent with all of these things, but here's the catch. Here's the catch with opening Warg with something else. Wave 3. Wave 3 is the issue. Like all of these things up here, with the exception of, I guess, Windhawk, right? All of these things up here, I guess, Scrappy too, but Scrappy's a new unit, so let's just say, like wave 1 and 2, Warg is good. But 3 Warg is just, it's not good. And it is good 4, but I'm really thinking about wave 3. Why would I want to open with Warg? Okay. If let's say I have Sea Dragon, Warg, and Steed. Why would I choose to go Sea Dragon, Warg? Actually, no, I'm gonna talk myself out of this one. Yeah, you go Sea Dragon, Warg, and then you add the Steed on 3. So I guess that would make sense. All right, you're right. Let's just put it in B. But it's B-. It's B-. Yes, I guess if you're starting at wave 1 and 2, and then you have a Willow shroom for 3, or you have a Steed for 3, or some type of an arcane tank, you have gargoyles for 3, then yeah, I guess Warg is on sort of the same level as an opener. It is comparable to these. Yeah, I guess you're right. Sort of the same thing as Infiltrate. Like I feel like these 4, right? If we're talking about Sea Dragon, right? These 4 that I put at the back, I think they're all sort of balanced right here at B if you pair them with a good counterpart, right? Honestly, we could just put all of these together. If you put all 4 of those units together, you could do almost any combo that's acceptable. Almost any combo with these 4, like Sea Dragon with Steed, or Sea Dragon with Warg, or Sea Dragon with Infiltrator. So I feel like all of them are fine. Downside, you don't get 5 workers as quickly as possible, but you are tough to leak waves 1 through 4, really. I mean, even with starting Sea Dragon and Steed, you are going to be hard to leak on 4, even if you just kept making Steeds. So I think they're fine all paired together here in B. Maybe it's a cop-out to put the last 4 all in B back to back to back to back. But I feel like these things go well together. With the Warg. The Warg is hurting me, but I'm gonna leave the Warg here for you, just because these guys are meant to be. But This is going to be my tier 3 openers tier list. There is no discussion when it comes to the Trent being in number 1. Maybe you guys are going to be a little upset about the banker being last. But like I said, the gold for me doesn't work. And so when I look at the stats of banker compared to any of these other units for 95 gold and then the upgrade of another 185 gold, I just don't think it compares for that little bit of gold you get at the start. Late game, yes. Opener, no. But these are my rankings for tier 3 openers. Thank you guys for watching and look forward to tier 4. Please, of course, let me know that you want it. And I'll see you guys in the next one.